Finally, the last topic that I'd like to speak about is on the positive side, and that is that I would encourage you to consider adopting a fair use exception to copyright in your copyright law. Fair use is open-ended exception to copyright based on a policy-based standard that courts can apply. Fair use is part of copyright law in the United States, Israel. Also, in effect, if not in name, it is the standard used in Bangladesh, South Korea, the Philippines, Sri Lanka, Taiwan, and Uganda. In substance, fair use says that a use of a copyrighted work is not an infringement if, after an analysis of 4 factors, a court considers it fair. Those factors are the purpose and character of the use, including whether the use transforms the work or uses it for a new and different purpose. The second factor is the nature of the work itself, including whether it has been published, whether it is a work that is mostly contains facts or a work of creativity and fiction, the amount used, and the impact on the market for the original. And those factors are weighed together in light of the purposes of copyright. Another way to put it is a use of a copyrighted work without permission or payment that nonetheless furthers the goals of the copyright law is a fair use and thus not an infringement. In the United States, the law also refers to specific purposes, but they are given as examples, not as limitations on the exception. It refers to criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, or research. The value of fair use is that it allows people to make positive, productive, socially beneficial uses of copyright works that were never contemplated by the legislature or by the courts, provided that they have a justification that they can later apply. And that's important because courts and legislatures can't always anticipate every possible socially beneficial use. So, for example, fair use was used to validate the invention of the home video cassette recorder and later digital video recorders. In the United States, it was used to validate parody and sometimes satire as valid uses of creative work without permission. And also many personal uses of creative works. Again, these are subject to specific exceptions and limitations in many countries, but because there are so many different personal uses to which creative works, digital media can be put, fair use covers works and uses that haven't yet been anticipated. It allows for the free, productive, socially beneficial use of digital technologies without waiting for the permission of a legislature or a court. And fair use is a major driver of both technological and artistic innovation in the countries where it exists. There are 2 arguments that are often made against adoption of a fair use exception, and I'd like to briefly address both of those. One is, you may have heard, that fair use can't be adopted anew in countries that haven't yet adopted a provision like that because there isn't yet a body of decisional law that will guide people's behavior on what is a fair use and what is not. But that's not really a valid criticism because precedents from other countries can be applied and adapted for local needs, local customs. The other exception you may hear is that fair use conflicts with what's known as the three-step test, which is part of the Berne Convention, the international treaty on copyright law that puts limits on exceptions and limitations. And part of the Berne Convention three-step test reads, it shall be a matter for legislation in the countries of the Union to permit the reproduction of such works in certain special cases, provided that such reproduction does not conflict with a normal exploitation of the work and does not unreasonably prejudice the legitimate interests of the author. Now, the phrase certain special cases is sometimes read to mean that open-ended exceptions like fair use cannot be enacted. In practice, that's simply not true. The United States and other countries that I've mentioned have had fair use exceptions now for many decades, and they've never seriously been challenged at the WTO or in any other international body because of this. The bulk of actual practice and experience says that fair use does not conflict with the three-step test. Fair use is possible, practical, and valuable as a part of copyright law. That's all I have. Hopefully we'll be able to address your comments and concerns in a live chat or by email. You are always welcome to contact me. My email address is mitch@eff.org. That's mitch@eff.org. All of our written material is also available and free to reproduce at EFF.org. Thank you very much for your time.